How's it going, guys? My name is Rich AK with AK Growth, a production house focused on intent-driven marketing. And I've been running around like crazy this past weekend. It's Monday right now when I'm shooting this, so I've been running around like crazy trying to get some short deadlines done, but still have time to make this video. So today I think I want to talk to you guys about sales versus branding and how funny it is that people just feel this need to separate them when in reality they both need to coexist together in order for you to be at your best performance. It's not about choosing to do one thing, it's about choosing to do the right things so that you can have the most powerful effect that can compound over time. You need to have a little branding with your sales, you need to have a little sales with your branding, regardless of whether or not you're a diehard in one of them or the other. So it's pretty easy to categorize the two because they are polarizingly different. In sales, you're a lot more data driven, a lot more analytical. Like you have a full direction of what you need to do when you need to hit a goal, you need to hit your target. Whereas in branding, it's a lot more of a creative play. It's a lot more of an artistic play. It's how can you get into your customer's mind? How can you play the empathy game? How can you pull the correct strings in order to play with people's emotions? Like that's what branding is. Like the brand needs to have recognition in the customer's eyes. The brand needs to be memorable in the customer's eyes. Like that's good, powerful branding. Like they want you thinking about them every hour like clockwork. Let that synapse fire off. So they're very different. Like sales, you're going to be picking up the phone, you're going to be calling, you're going to be reaching out directly, you're going to be doing whatever. And I understand that some industries require more brand than they require sales, and some industries require more sales than they require brand. But it's not just one or the other. You got to have an image and you got to have a push, you got to have a direction regardless of what you're in. So, if you're only in sales, you still have to have an image. You still have to look a certain way, act a certain way, because if you're direct reaching everybody and everybody who you talk to or come across in contact with ends up hating you, that's not a good position to be in, because that's going to limit who you can be as a person. So it works the same way in business. You don't want to be reaching out in just sales and not caring anything about your branding. Because it's funny to me, like I still come across, like it's 2019 and I still come across websites where it's like, man, this website's from like 20 years ago, and it's just like, this is like a current company, and it's like, what are you doing? Like you should at least invest a little bit into looking a certain way, because like people aren't just going to take you as seriously, if they don't know about you, which a lot of people aren't going to know about your smaller company. So you have to be presentable. It's not just about sales. It's not just about having the sales team and caring about them and then disregarding everything else. Like you have to give the designers some love too. And it goes vice versa. It goes the same thing for a company that's only pure brand, that only does like artistic vision, that only does creative, that only does this, that only does that. Nothing's measured. You might want to have a little direction, because if all you're ever doing is just putting out full media and never giving people a call to action, never letting people have an incentive to drive home with, are you really a business, or are you just doing this for fun? So you really got to find that balance. I think that, everybody needs to have a little bit of both, but it's better to just amplify both of those processes. So the reason I think it's really important to bring this up is because now more than ever, you need to have the fluidity to be able to adjust to different formats. Like if you're only doing brand and you're not doing any sales, like that's not a good position to be in. There's lots of people out there who have followings of 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 people, and they can barely make their rent because they have to work a regular 9-to-5 job at a coffee shop. That's not a good position to be in. So like you can't just be all brand and you can't just be all sales. It's important to be able to adjust. And I was wondering, I was like, how do I convey the message that it's less about the label and it's more about the purpose of why you're doing something? And I really think that if you just start looking at stuff with the purpose behind it, like the intent, then anything that you go after, like, you can start looking from a much more global perspective. Because when you look at the intent of something, then you're like, okay, like, why am I doing what I'm doing, and what do I need to do in order to secure everything else around it? So I'm not just gonna go out there and build all brand and not be able to monetize, and I'm not just gonna go out there and do only sales and never have anything that people can relate me with. You know, that neither of those positions are good positions to be in. And once again, as these media formats change, you know, like what comes after Instagram, we don't know yet, but it's going to come. And the people who were not able to transition from one format to another because they didn't build the brand and only did sales, that's not a good position, you know? So it really is like, you can go one way or the other and really kind of screw yourself over. That's why it's important to look at things in a unifying vision and understand that you're not just this and you're not just that, but you have to be both, or 3 things, or 4 things, or 5 things. I hope that helps you out a bit. I like making these types of videos because it's fun to just kind of like play around with it and really like think about how are people doing things, how are people observing other people, right? All this other kind of stuff. It all comes together because, you know, until robots take over, like, the humans are still the ones buying the products. The humans are still the ones making the decisions. So if you can understand their intentions, then you have a real shot at growing way past your competitors. Think about that. So I hope you like this kind of video. My name is Rich AK. I run AK Growth, a production house focused on intent-driven marketing. Everything I do has a purpose behind it. There's a why for everything. Hope you like this video. Stay dry out there. It's gonna be a rainy week in the Bay Area. Hope you're having a great day.